Hey lambs, Ky here, back for another Ky Rants. Don't forget, Ky Rants is sponsored by my lamb Patreon, patreon.com/loveandmurder, and also by my new Etsy, whichever one, Etsy shop, lambmarket.etsy.com, LAMMARKET.etsy.com. So let's get into it. The title of today's rant is The World's Oldest Solved Cold Case. DNA evidence leads to arrest in 57-year-old homicide. In a groundbreaking moment of genetic genealogy, can you say that 3 times? I can't even say it. Genetic genealogy. Ooh, that was hard. Officials in Jefferson County, Colorado announced the resolution of the world's oldest cold case. The long-awaited breakthrough involves a heinous crime that occurred during the era of President John F. Kennedy, finally shedding light on the fate of Margaret Peggy Beck, a 16-year-old Girl Scout camp counselor, that's also hard, Girl Scout camp counselor, and a student of North High School. Peggy was the oldest of 4 girls and, quote, her 3 sisters are alive, and this is a painful time for them. So imagine, she was 16, they're younger. It's been 57 years. They've led their whole life without having answers to what happened. Well, they know what happened, but who did it? Who did this to their sister? It's been nearly 6 decades since the quiet woods of Jefferson County bore witness to a horrifying crime. On August 18th, 1963, as the nation grappled with the challenges of the time, which I want to go and see what the challenges of the time were because I wasn't alive then. But let's continue with at least this paragraph and then we'll go back. So on August 18th, 1963, 16-year-old Peggy Beck, who was a dedicated Girl Scout counselor, was raped and murdered at a summer Girl Scout camp at what was once the Flying G Ranch. Can you imagine you send your daughter off to Girl Scout camp and you think she's going to be safe because, you know, there should be people watching her. And even though she's 16 and she's a counselor, there's also adult counselors there. And the teenagers watch the younger kids and then the adults watch over everyone. I couldn't imagine. But before we move on, let's see what was going on in 1963. All right, 1963. And keep in mind, I am not a history person. So, that's when President F. Kennedy was assassinated. Wow. And then Lyndon Johnson became president. Lee Harvey Oswald was shot and killed. The civil rights protest was happening in the South. Oh, that's when Dr. King gave his I Have a Dream speech. U.S., Soviet Union, and Britain signed a nuclear test ban treaty. There were scandals going on in the British Parliament. What? There was a great train robbery in Britain that yielded 2.5 million pounds. Did they ever catch them? Wow, that's when Kenya became independent? Oh man, wow, a lot of things were happening in 1963, I guess. I mean, and it goes on. It shows like the World Series, Los Angeles over New York Yankees 4-0. Wow, unemployment reached 6.1%. Congress expanded its investigation of organized crime. Wow. Yeah, article was right. A lot of things were happening in 1963. Anyway, so in 1963, August 18th, she was raped and murdered. And, quote, there were marks on her neck and there were signs of a sexual assault that had occurred, said Sheriff's investigator Elias Alberti. Former Denver District Attorney Mitch Morisi said, quote, her tent mate got sick and spent the evening at the infirmary. So she was in the tent by herself. Oh, which made her a target. But then the person who did this, where did he fit in? Was he wouldn't have been a camp counselor if this was Girl Scouts. They wouldn't have had men there back then. Huh. James Raymond Taylor, if still alive, would be 80 years old today. He is the prime suspect in the brutal sexual assault and murder of Peggy Beck. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office is currently looking for James, and they have a warrant for his arrest with charges of sexual assault and murder that have loomed over him for half a century. Over half a century. Quote, nowhere in the world have they solved a case this old with genetic genealogy. Nothing would give us greater pleasure than to actually put the handcuffs on James Taylor, end quote. And that was said by Jefferson County Sheriff Jeff Schrader. In the law enforcement and crime-solving world, the application of genetic genealogy is nothing short of revolutionary. Jefferson County's investigation has been significantly aided by United Data Connect, a company instrumental in employing genetic genealogy to unveil the truth behind the once cold case. With preserved DNA evidence from the crime scene, wow. Investigators created profiles in 2007 and again in 2019, providing the crucial link in the chain that would lead to justice through Taylor's relatives. Then on October 2019, that's when they found their man. All of James's family cooperated with the investigation, but even they didn't know where James currently is. They stated that the last they knew, he was living in Las Vegas in 1976. Quote, "We have spent several months searching for James Taylor with no luck. And although they're ready to arrest him, no information is available about his whereabouts." Wow, I think dude changed his name, and if he's alive, because he would be 80 now. I mean, he could be alive, but if he's alive, this dude, the last time he spoke to his family was in 76. Either that or they're not giving up information, but then why cooperate? But then again, they could just make it look like they were cooperating and then be like, well, I don't know where he is. We haven't talked to him in a while. But is this enough for police to go through all their phone records, emails, and everything like that? Do you think police would have done that? So either way, either he moved to Las Vegas in 76, changed his name, and then moved again, more than likely out of the country, or his family knows exactly where he is, but they're not saying anything. One of the two. Or, actually, the third option, he's dead. But then you would be able to find information on him, so it still goes back to changing his name, probably out of the country, everything like that. And he basically got away with a rape and murder of a 16-year-old girl for over 2 decades. I really hope he hasn't gone on and done anything like this again. I mean, he shouldn't have done it the first time, but it's crazy that they didn't find him in all this time. Like, the question is, what was he doing around there? How did nobody else see him? And I'm not blaming anybody else. I'm just voicing questions here. How did nobody else see him? What was he doing there that he knew that she was the one without someone in her tent? Like, was he sitting on the sidelines just watching to see the weakest link? And how did nobody see some guy sitting on the sidelines? Like, I don't know. This one has a lot of questions, but it's amazing that they were able to solve the case 57 years later. But it's also crazy that even though they solved the case, they can't find the suspect. So I did search while I was getting this together. I did search for updates, and the only update is they know who did it. They don't know where he is. So they're still looking for him. And have you heard about this? What do you think about this? I mean, this is supposed to help. This genetic genealogy is supposed to help in so many other cases. And you get the genetics from people who've done, DNA traces or whatever, ancestry.com and stuff like that. I mean, that's where they're getting the genetic material. They might be also getting it when you go to the doctor. Again, I'm not saying don't go to the doctor. I'm just talking here. I have not given you any advice into what to do in your life. And I'm not saying conspiracy theories. I'm telling you facts. This is where they're getting your genetics. And I mean, there's no way around it unless you go live off the grid. So anyways, that's all I have for today. I want to hear your thoughts on this case, your thoughts on genetic genealogy, and let me know in the comments below. I do 100%, as you can see, read all of my comments. And if you want your comments heard on air, then go ahead and leave me one. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next rant. Bye.